I want to make a dent in the political scene,
Mm-hmm.
but you first have to be funny. The joke has to be funny, and then you give yourself a little credibility to move the needle. And it's kind of an important story that happened, and I want your listeners to know about it, because all of your listeners are having these Facebook debates, and they're going back and forth with all these people, and you will not get anywhere with them, and everyone knows it. You never get anywhere. So one time, and this was right around the time I started to fall in love with the bee, I was through debating people because they weren't listening, and they were talking about white privilege, and I finally just said, the only real white privilege that we get is we get free guacamole at Chipotle. And the people I was with immediately started telling me that was ridiculous. No, you don't. And all of a sudden I sat back, and they were doing the heavy lifting for me. And that's why I love writing satire. The modern day leftist wants the tug of war. It's a rope, and you're pulling with facts, and they're pulling with emotion, and they're actually satiated by the resistance. So one of the things that I think people should really exercise is almost like just a way to think. Always go on the same side of the rope that they're pulling, and watch them fall over. See my point?
Yes.
So that is where you actually move the needle. So in the debate about the white privilege debate, I got several people pretty quickly to start telling me that white privilege doesn't exist, because Chipotle would never give free guacamole to white people, which actually inspired a story where, hey, check your mailbox because your white privilege benefits catalog should be here pretty soon. So anyways, it's just they have so dominated the emotion of empathy, fear, anger, compassion. By doing that, you cannot do humor because what you're doing is you're so rigidly following the script. That's why Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers and all these late night people, they're just staring off into space, calling conservatives racism and mixing in some vulgarity, and that's the only humor they have left. So regular conservatives are really funny. They don't take themselves too seriously, and I would encourage people to start having fun with these people. Mm-hmm. Pull on the same side of the rope that they're pulling, and just watch them fall over. Don't waste your time with facts. Every person in the nation who adheres to facts for their decision-making is already a conservative. There is not one soul left.
Yeah, but if you're talking about fee wings, we know what side of the debate you're already going to be on, right? If it's about my fee wings, then we know. Okay,
exactly.
Scott, I wanted to mention something why I so admire what you do, this skill, this humor, this satire, because humor and satire are very powerful in political arguments, because I think you figured out that, and I heard this from someone, and I took this to heart a long time ago, humor and satire are the truth, but only quicker. It illustrates it more quickly than you can to sit there and try to debate the facts and the figures, even though I talk facts and figures and logic too.
Yep.
You see it that way, I would imagine.
Absolutely. So here's a way to think about it. So one of the things that the left tries to do is we kind of get the analogy of the cool kids table, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why they're freaking out about Nicki Minaj, because it's like you're supposed to sit at the cool kids table, and that is essentially an emotional trap. We will think you're cool if you're here. Now, to your point, which you just said about the truth only quicker, so to extrapolate the analogy of the cool kids table, there's really only one other table in the proverbial cafeteria that's more attractive, and it's the table where people are laughing. And the left knows this, and that's why they hated Rush Limbaugh. That's why Donald Trump had to go, is because they would make their table start to laugh. And people in the cafeteria of our political climate would look over and say, the cool kids table, it's not as fun as that table. And that's where they cannot be mocked. That's why the left cannot be mocked. And that's why they shut it down. And I'm not going to whine.
But the thing is, though, is that mocking is very powerful. It's a very powerful political argument, though, mocking.
It's the most powerful emotion. You see, that's their language. It's the most powerful emotion. And they know they can't compete, because once you become so militant to your other talking points, you lose creativity. And creativity and humor are one and the same. So you're right. that's why humor is and that's why I became obsessed with satire, because I was saying the Babylon Bee is marching the football up the field with more efficiency. I hate to say it, and I love this guy, but like a Ben Shapiro.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Shapiro is facts, 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 facts. And you look around and you go, okay, that was a brilliant argument, but you persuaded no one because you already got them. But the Babylon Bee, you are getting people sharing the stories, having conversations. And people said, I want to be laughing with them instead of just sitting down, staring off into space, calling people racist, because that is not fun. So, yes, humor, and it's Chesterton, I believe. The humor will slip under the door while the truth is still fumbling with the door handle.
Yeah.
To your point.
Yeah, great quote there. Scott Flores, once again, Medford native, and he writes now and he runs thegloriousamerican.com, thegloriousamerican.com, getting millions of web hits on this. Very funny, very thoughtful news and satire site, thegloriousamerican.com.
So the site is ran out of Portland, and I have, let's say, a lot of material.
Oh, my gosh. I was just thinking about it. Here it is. You're running The Glorious American, satire for the right and the wrong. That's your motto there, right? And you're having you're tweaking the nose of the left day in, day out, and you're in the belly of the beast, aren't you?
For your listeners that may not know, I did, work with the Babylon Bee. I decided that was my goal in 2019, was to get on their roster. And I submitted 2 stories a day for them. Starting January 1, I submitted 2 stories, not just headlines, but full-bodied articles. And on January 17th, they finally said, okay, you're in, stop writing us. And I was able to contribute all the time with them, and I fell in love. Mm-hmm. After my first few stories got published, I was hooked. And I knew I couldn't just kind of contribute on the side. I started taking Photoshop classes, and the logic was simple, and I'm pretty passionate about this. Conservatives need to get in the culture, and if there needs to be 12, 15, 30 Babylon Bees, because humor has been completely seeded from the left. Mm-hmm. They are so militantly following the script that they cannot be funny, because they are so
I don't think they can laugh at themselves even at this point. I don't think they get it.
No, I'll tell you this. I did a story that it was the WNBA told Americans, hey, it's either us or the flag. And it was a very popular and I had journalists writing the website, and they were so dense. This journalist was saying, I have read this story, and first of all, sir, there's no such team as the Palmdale Platypus, so this is wrong. And I was like, are you sure? And they were reading the article and fact-checking it, and it was so blatantly – and, of course, the Babylon Bee gets this all the time. They
mm-hmm. are
so blinded by their talking points that humor is just bouncing off of them. And I saw a massive opportunity. And so I jumped at it.
So what is probably – if you had to choose your favorite story out of the hundreds that you have done on thegloriousamerican.com, and maybe even your past work on Babylon, what are ones that come to mind that you just said, yep, that's got staying power? I put that in the portfolio.
I did a story where Stacey Abrams was banned from social media after tweeting the misinformation. She was fighting for a cause bigger than herself. No. You did? If a story is hot, like when Coca-Cola demanded that their staff be less white.
Less white, yeah.
I did a disaster. Hundreds of Coke employees show up in blackface. That was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It's really the reaction. I scared a lot of maybe elderly people with a story. This is iPhone. The new iPhone update will automatically detect photos with too many white people and add a minority. And a lot of people were like commenting, saying, "Well, so I don't want this." And they're like, "Deborah, it's a joke.
It's a joke. You don't get it." But
yeah.
But the thing is, though, is that the world, this country especially, is so nuts right now in its culture. By the way, I'm talking with Scott Flores, and he runs his big part in thegloriousamerican.com. Incredible news satire site. It really is. And
actually, I should tell you the biggest story, because it got play with Don Jr. and Larry Elder. The biggest story was after the after the horrible story of the police officer who shot the girl who was running at her friend with a knife, I did a story where LeBron James says, we're getting to the point where friends can't even stab their friends anymore. And so that was picked up by Don Jr. and Larry Elder and a lot of well-known conservatives. So that was probably one of, and the reason that was important is because as soon as Don Jr. he actually screen grabbed it, he didn't retweet it. That's when USA Today, Snopes, and Reuters contacted me, and because they needed to dunk on Don Jr. by saying it was a fake story, but of course he knew, and the joke was on them. So yeah.
The thing is, it's a joke, folks. I love what you have on the front page right now on thegloriousamerican.com. AOC recounts surviving Titanic sinking on Instagram Live. I love that. That's DeSantis instructs Florida companies to fire all Biden voters to get under 100 employee threshold. All right, and the best one right now though is still. Nicki Minaj named president of the Heritage Foundation. No kidding. General Mark Milley out after tipping off Girl Scout troop that Joe Biden was coming. Love that one.